Hello, I guess we can get started. Let's check the sound. Can you hear and see me well? If you can, please write plus in the chat box. I can see some pluses, that's great. It means I'm not alone here. Good, okay, so hello everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar on reading today. My name is Alexandra. I'm a teacher and methodologist in Skyeng School of English, and today we are going to talk about reading lessons. So before we start, during our webinar, if you have any questions you would like me to answer after the main part of the webinar, you can put them in a special box in the right upper corner. You can see a box "Вопросы", so you can put all your questions there. In this way I won't miss anything, because if you put them in the chat, I don't promise that I will see them, because the chat is too quick. Okay? So please put your questions there, and then let's see what we're going to discuss today. We're going to talk about teaching effective reading lessons. We will see how to plan this kind of lesson, what tasks to include to make it effective, and we'll look at some ideas for resources, where to take resources, what kind of resources can you use to make your reading lesson memorable and fun for you and for your kids, or just students. So, question for you. Do your students like reading lessons? Why or why not? Very briefly, just a few words in the chat box. So, do your students like reading lessons? You can write in the chat. No? Okay. Some do, some don't. Sometimes. Okay. I see. So we have different answers here. For those whose students don't like reading lessons, hopefully by the end of this webinar you will see the need for these lessons included during the work in the classroom, and hopefully you will learn some techniques and some tips how to make them enjoyable for your students and for you. So let us get started. Well, when we ask a question how to teach reading, it's kind of odd question, because what can go wrong? Yeah, you just give them a text, tell them to read it, and just leave them with it. But in fact, when we talk about teaching a reading lesson, a good effective reading lesson, well, the aim of this lesson is not to make our students read something in English. The aim actually is to develop different reading skills, and this is the most important part, because if you don't develop these skills, then there's no sense in your reading lesson. And in order to achieve these, in order to practice these different skills, our reading lesson should consist of these three stages. So it's a pre-reading stage, it's a reading itself, and post-reading stage. Okay, so we are going to look at these stages in more detail and see what are they and why we need them. So the first stage is pre-reading. So what is it? Well, we talked about giving effective reading lessons. That's why we should give a meaningful to make reading a meaningful process, and for this we need to prepare our students for reading as it is, and we need to get them interested in the text that we are going to give them. And this is why we need pre-reading stage of the lesson. So let us look at some of the ideas which we can use at this stage. You can see them on the screen, and I will comment on every of it. So first of all, you can start by activating your students' schemata. And by this I mean discussing any general knowledge your students have about the topic of the reading text. So for example, guys, if anyone have problems with sound or anything, you can I hope our moderator can help you. If not, just try to leave the webinar room and enter again. Usually it helps. So let's see, activating student schemata. An example. If you read a text about an education in Great Britain, let us say, you can ask your students to think about educational system of their own country and discuss some questions connected with it. So, for example, you could ask how many years of school children have in their country, what exams do you have to take and when, and is there anything they would like to change in this system, and so on. So then you can tell your students that at the lesson they will find out what it's like to be at school in Britain, and then they will be able to compare how is it different from the school in their own country. So this is the first part, the first activity you could do. Also, you could talk about students' personal experiences, for starters. So you can discuss how the story might relate to what your students have experienced in their life. For example, if you read a text about someone who is going to live abroad, to live in another country, you could ask your students if they have ever lived in another country, or if they haven't, you can also ask them how might they feel if they had to move to another country, what might be the difficulties they face, and so on. So just connect it with the student's experience. Also, you can use the title and the photo of the text. Usually most textbooks have it. Most authentic materials, if we talk about newspaper articles, blogs, and so on, have it. So you could discuss the title and the picture of the text and try to predict based on this what the text is going to be about. Another option is to prepare a set of pictures related to the text and give the students the task to put these pictures in order, in a specific order, in a logical order they think it should go, and then discuss again based on it what the text is going to be about. You could also show the title of the story and ask the students to make let's say up to 3 questions they would like to find out answers to after reading the text. So this is actually an element of KWL method of reading, and if you would like to find out more about it, so please visit our skyteach.ru website, and there is an article about KWL method in relation with listening and videos, working with listening and videos. So it works in the same way for reading. And of course, pre-reading stage of the lesson is the time when we pre-teach blocking vocabulary. So what is blocking vocabulary? It's not like all unknown words that you can meet in the text. It's unnecessary to pre-teach everything. Blocking vocabulary are the words that are necessary to complete the task. So these are some words which students will need when they complete the first or the second task for the text. So when you get ready for the reading lesson yourself, read your tasks, look through the text, and if in the answers to your questions there is some kind of word which you think your students don't know, this is the blocking vocabulary. So for example, if you read a text about procrastination, well, this is definitely the word you might want to pre-teach, because students probably don't know it. It depends on the level, of course, but usually they don't know it. And this is the key word to understand the whole text. So this is what you need to pre-teach. The ideal number of words is like 3, 4, but not more than 5. At this stage, they don't need more. Okay, so these were the ideas for pre-reading stage, and today we'll do some practice. You'll be the students for some time, so we're going to practice now a bit. So on this slide you can see a picture, and then in blue you can see the title of the text. So look at this picture, read the title, Cycling on the Most Dangerous Road in the World, and think, what is the text might be about, and why can the road be dangerous? Something like that. So what do you think the text is about, and why this road is so dangerous? Looking at the title and looking at the picture, please give us some ideas in the chat box. About a cycling race or injuries. Nice idea, very positive. Okay. Bangladesh, probably. Mountain roads. Dangerous, unique type of tourism. Death level. Nice. Okay, so from the title and from the picture we figured out the main, maybe the key ideas about the text. So it's about cycling, it's about maybe a kind of sport, about some road in the mountains, and it is dangerous because, and then we gave some ideas why it's dangerous. So what we did here is we predicted the main ideas about the text, and this will help us in the future to understand the text better. So if we are the learners, when we start thinking about the topic, we start activating some necessary vocabulary, some background knowledge, we're activating our schemata, and we will be able to understand the text better later on. Okay, good. Well done, everyone. So let us move on to the main reading stage of the lesson. So at this stage of the lesson, we usually prepare different tasks related with the text. So here we work with the text itself, and we usually ask our students to work on at least 2 reading skills. So there are 3 main reading skills we can work on during the lesson, but we can skip one and work only on 2. So let's see which ones are they. So first reading, the first type of reading, or the first reading skill, is reading for gist or skimming. The second is reading for specific information or scanning. And the third one is reading for detail or deeper comprehension. So we are going to look at these skills in more detail in a moment. Let's just look at the first 2. So reading for gist or skimming and reading for specific information or scanning are usually called or considered to be speed reading tasks. What does it mean? It means that usually, or not usually, we always ask our students to complete these tasks under the time limit. So we give the time limit 1 to 2 minutes, sometimes 3. It depends on the length of the text. And we ask our students to complete the task for gist and the task for specific information within this time limit. So these are very important skills your students should develop, because they will help them in real life, and we'll see how. And they will also help your students during different exams. So if your students are getting ready for the exam, these are essential skills to develop. So the first type of reading is reading for gist or skimming. This is sometimes also called reading for general understanding. And during this type of reading, during this task, we usually ask our students to get the general idea of the text. So what it means is that students don't need to understand every word of the text and go into details. It's just to get the idea. This task is usually like 1 to 2 very general questions, so it shouldn't be anything about details. So skimming is a very important skill, and we usually use it in real life. For example, if we look through news stories on the page of newspaper, something like that, or if you look through the article in general, just to see if you would like to read it or not, to get the general idea of the text before you get into the details and before you start digging and looking for different or more specific information, and so on. And reading for gist is always the first type of reading you practice during your lesson. Well, in some of the textbooks, like in most of the textbooks, it is included as a separate task. But even in very famous textbooks that everyone uses, like the English File or Face-to-Face and so on, sometimes this kind of task is omitted, and reading for detail goes as the first task, or reading for specific information goes as the first one. It's not right, and if it's not there, just make it up, because it will really make your students happier. So what can we do for this type of reading? If you see the tasks like choose the best title for the text, or choose the picture which summarizes the text, or check your predictions if you were doing prediction exercise during the pre-reading stage, or order your paragraphs in the right way, or something like that. And also, if your task is to find out the author's opinion about the text or about the matter discussed in the text, this is definitely a reading for gist task. For example, if you are working on a film review, so you're reading a film review with your students, an example of a gist task will be to read it and find out if the author liked the film or not. So for this, they definitely don't need to understand everything and go into details and see what the film was about. They will just need to read through and using the author's phrases and expressions identify if he liked the film or not. So again, to see what it's like to practice it, we're going to do it now. And here we're going to work with the text. You've already seen the title and the picture for this text. And now the gist task for you is: why is this road considered the most dangerous in the world? So we are going to find that out in our first encounter with the text. And usually for this kind of activity we give like 1 to 2 minutes. I guess that 1 minute will be more than enough for us because we're all teachers here. And when you do that, to give your students their sense what they need to do, and that they don't need to understand everything and spend too much time on the text, we usually use some ICQs, instruction check questions. So we can ask here, like, do you need to read the whole text or maybe every word? No, it's not necessary. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Or do you need to understand every word of the text? Nope, definitely not this time. And we can also check how much time do they have for this. So they have 1 minute. So now we are going to practice, and in the chat box I give you a link to the text. So when you open it, your task is to find out why the road is considered the most dangerous in the world, and you have 1 minute to complete this task. So here goes the link. Please follow the link and try to find the answer. Ksenia, you need to read the text first. So, according to the text, why is this road considered the most dangerous? It's not a pre-reading task, it's already a reading process, okay? We have first answers because of number of deaths, okay? Number of accidents, number of deaths. Okay, so mainly the correct answer is because of the death rate. Yeah, so there are too many accidents there, and they happen all the time, and this is the answer. So we don't go into the specifics, we don't go into the details. Yeah, we just give one answer. Okay, very well. So well done, everyone. Another thing to develop in your students is not to copy the sentence from the text, but to give your own answers. Okay, so let us move on, and we're going to look at the second type of reading. This usually goes second. You can do either this one or reading for details as your second reading task. So this is reading for specific information or scanning. I know that it's easier to copy, but yeah. Okay, that's a nice way to think as a teacher. Just joking. So scanning, what is it? This is another very useful and essential skill to develop in your students. This is looking for very specific information in the text, and by very specific I mean when we're looking for a date, name, some kind of number in the text, some kind of name, or some kind of place. So actually this is what we see when we just look through the text, when we scan it. Yeah, well, these are the things that pop up or pop out of the text, and you easily can see them in the whole text. So why is it necessary to practice this? Well, first of all, your students need to know that not all the time we need to read everything from the very beginning to the very end. You don't do that in the real life when you, for example, are looking for a phone number in your directory. You don't need to read all phone numbers and all the names that you have there. You're just looking for the specific one. Or when you're reading or you're opened some kind of article and you're looking for the date, for the exact date there. So usually you don't need to read the whole one. Yeah, you just can see the date and then read around it if you need some more information. When you look through the timetable and you're looking for a very specific time, for example, for a train or plane or something like that. So before your students do the task, when you ask them these questions for this kind of task, You can also ask them, and this is a very nice skill, and this is a very nice thing to do. Ask them to predict in what form the answer in the text will be. So, for example, we have some activities here, some examples of activities here. If your task says find the year when or find the date when, the answer will be a number. It will be either a year or some kind of date, or maybe a name of the month, and so on. So they see it, they understand what they need to look for, and this makes the process of scanning quicker and more meaningful. If your task is find the name, then of course they will look for a name, and everyone knows how the name should look like. Also, it can be some task like find the information about, and then we say number, date, or name, or something like that in the text. And another interesting example of reading for specific information or scanning is a true-false task. Well, we all know that usually true-false task is reading for details. Not exactly. It depends on what we have in the task itself. If your true-false sentences contain the numbers, the names, the dates, and so on, or the name of the places, then this is a scanning task, because what actually happens is the students look at the text and they start looking for a number they have in their question, and when they're looking for a number, this is scanning. So let's practice it, and we'll practice on this controversial example. True or false task. So, but this true or false task should not include more than 3 sentences, usually 1 or 2. Here you have 3 sentences about our text. Look through them. You have numbers here, so this is a scanning task. And your task is to go to the text we had before and find out if these sentences are true or false. So you can write your answers in the chat like TTF or FTT and so on, something like that. So, you have 2 minutes for that, and if you need the link again, here it is. So let's see how well you can cope with the task. Very well done. Okay, so I see that most of you have the right answers. So the right answers are true, false, false, or TFF, yeah? So true, false, false. Did it take you a lot of time to find the answers in the text? Yes or no? No. Okay. It shouldn't have. So, right. So this one is quite quick. And for completing this task, again, your students don't need to go into big details to understand everything and spend too much time on the text. And we need, again, to develop this skill, because this is a very nice skill for real life. And of course, again, if your students are getting ready for the exam, this is one of the skills which is essential for exam taking, like IELTS, yeah? You look at your answer, you scan the text for some specific word or keyword or something like that, then you read around it and get more detail. Okay, very well done. And the third type of reading is, of course, reading for detail. Well, with this one, most of you and your students are very well familiar with, because this is the most popular task, and this is what recently we had only this one, yeah, for the text. So read the text and answer the questions. So once your students have practiced listening or reading for gist and or reading for specific information, you can let them dig into the details and find out more information. And this is where we read more carefully, more slowly, and we need to understand more or less everything, but not everything. It is considered to be successful reading and the right level for you if you read a text and you understand up to 80% of it. So it's okay not to understand everything, and this is what we should teach our students. So for this kind of task, usually we have a set of questions, a set of tasks. There are definitely more than 3, usually like 6 to 10 or even more. And they can take the form of multiple choice questions, true or false, but without names, dates and numbers, because then it will be the scanning task, and you all know it now. It can be correct in statements, like when you have a statement and you need to write down if something's wrong or say that it's true if it's not. So maybe it's some kind of supplement to true or false task. It can be just questions to answer, a list of questions, the most frequent one. It can be matching sentence halves or matching statements to people or paragraphs or things mentioned in the text, and so on and so forth. So this kind of task is like usually what we can do when we read for detail. Ilona, this is a very good thing, and I was just going to comment on that. So again, one thing is you need to prepare your students that they don't need to understand everything in the text, and we all need to work in that direction, not to scare them. Then usually you can skip the pre-teaching vocabulary stage before the first reading, but when you do reading for detail, there definitely will be words that will block the understanding of the text. And this is when you need to pre-teach. This is definitely when you need to pre-teach some blocking vocabulary. And again, usually it's not more than 5 words. If it's more, then the text is of the wrong level, or your student is definitely on the wrong level, or his reading skills are not developed enough. To prepare our students for any reading task and to make them not try to understand and translate everything, we should definitely get them familiarized with the task before the reading. So at every stage we give the task before we give the reading. They should just look through the task, and they already can try and think what the answer should be. If they do this activity after the first reading, after the first encounter with the text, they will be able actually to answer some of the questions of the detailed task, but don't force them to do that at once. Just let them think for some time. Give them some thinking time to get ready for the reading for detailed task. Okay, so it's just something that our students are not used to, some of them are not used to, and this is something that we should teach them. It doesn't come at once, but step by step we should get there. Okay. So now we are this was a very long part, which was reading part, and this is the longest part of your reading lesson, of course. And then after this we go to a post-reading part of the lesson. So this is the stage which is actually speaking or writing activity, which is in ELT terms called a productive follow-up activity. So why do we need it? We've read the text, we've met our goal, we can go home. No. To again make the learning process or the reading process meaningful and memorable and to get most out of the text, this is followed by this kind of task where students based on the text practice their productive skills, that is speaking and or writing. Because they read for the whole lesson, of course they answered some questions and hopefully they do it orally at your lessons, but then they need to do something else with it, with all this language and ideas they got from the text, with all that vocabulary you taught them, and use it in their speech. So let's look at some of the ideas of what we can do at this stage of the lesson. Here are some of the activities you can use. The first one is reactions. You can actually prepare this kind of task on the back of your board if you're working in a real classroom, or just have it somewhere ready and that pop it in the chat box if you're working online. And that should be a series of sentences like this. For example, what I found the most interesting about this text was, and then you substitute the word interesting with the word boring, shocking, amusing, irritating, baffling, incredible, and any other nice adjective you could think of. So again, if you're teaching a group, your students can complete the sentences on their own, work individually for some time, collect their ideas, then get them work in pairs and discuss what they found out. Some of the most interesting ideas can be discussed as a whole classroom. So you can do that, and then the next one is a discussion, which is the most common one, I guess. So if you're reading a very interesting story, controversial story, you could organize a text-based discussion. For example, like, what would you do in this situation? Or if you we have this text about cycling on the mountain road, would they take their chances and try it, and so on. So another thing is to organize a debate. So you could divide your class into two groups. One of them can be for something, one of them against something, like, for example, for and against extreme kinds of sport, or one group is like some people who like this kind of thing, the others don't, and they need to come to some kind of conclusion, so they need to debate about it. You can also do compare experiences task, like if your pre-reading task was to answer some questions about their own experiences, then after reading the text, after doing all the task, it's natural to compare their first impressions of what they thought the text will be about, or their own experiences, to what they have found out in the text after they have read it. Another one is like rewrite the ending or continue the stories. Yeah, right, Ilona. Pros and cons of taking risks. That's a great topic for a debate. Yeah, or maybe for a discussion if you want. Okay. So rewrite the ending of the story. Some of the textbooks, like for example, somewhere in pre-intermediate New English file, there's a task where the story ends somehow not clear, and there is actually this kind of task where you need to write the continuation of the story, how the story ended, and this is the activity which you can do both in the form of speaking or writing. So it depends on what you would like to practice during this kind of lesson. Class voting, this is another one. So this is kind of again, it's connected with true or false, something like that. So you prepare a set of statements beforehand, before the lesson, about the text. Some of the statements are true, some of them are false. Students have the cards, like 2 cards in their hands. One says true, one says false. They all sit in a circle. You read a statement, or you can ask some student to read it if you want. You read a statement, and students then like show the card they have, like, is it true or false? Is the statement true or false? Based on the text. It should not be about the text, but maybe like ideas taken from the text. Everyone looks at their answers to see if they are all agreed on that unanimously, and if someone has a different answer, you can ask them to explain why they think so. Again, the other thing is, if this statement is false, they need to explain why it's false. You can do that as 2 groups, as 2 groups of students within one group, and make it as a competition. And of course, role play and act out. If your text has a kind of I don't know, like different characters, they can act out the situation as a class if you want. So, other ideas, of course, are like to expand the text, to write some more sentences about, to reduce the text, and here you can set boundaries and say, like, to reduce the text by exactly 100 words or 50%, and so on and so forth. Transform the text, for example, tell it from the 3rd person on the 1st person singular, depending on what your text is about and in what form it is. Arthur, can you please put this question in our question box? It's a very good question, but I would like to cover it a bit later, okay? So not to forget it and not to lose it. And you can do a text quiz. So you can ask your students to prepare 10 questions about the text. This question can be prepared by a group of students or by students individually. Then you can organize it either in the form of debate, again, or in the form of a competition, and check how well the groups coped with reading of the text, how much they remember, and so on. So by following these 3 stages of reading, you actually make sure that your students are engaged in the topic of the text and of the lesson in general. You get most out of the text. You work on improving different different reading skills necessary for not only test taking but also real life. And you practice not only reading but also productive skills like speaking and writing, and this is what communicative approach is all about, yeah? We're learning for the sake of using what we've learned. And definitely, if you do all that, this will bring satisfaction to you and your students, and your lessons, reading lessons, won't be boring, definitely not, and they will have some variety of activities which will definitely make your students happier. So now let's move to the section where we're going to talk about resources. What to do, what to work with when we talk about reading lessons. And one of the things we're going to talk about is authentic materials. It's an eternal debate in ESL world on whether to give your students authentic materials or use the textbook and adapted texts or specially written texts for the textbook. We all agree that at high levels we all use your students definitely will benefit from having authentic materials during the lessons. But what to do if we talk about lower levels, I mean like beginner, elementary and pre-intermediate? Well, actually, there are some things that we can use with them too, and these things are authentic. So here you can see some authentic reading materials you can use with beginner, elementary, and pre-intermediate students. So first of all, menus. So use takeaway menus. It's easy to find them online if you're working online, or even if you're not. It's nice to work with this kind of task, with this kind of like material in a real classroom. You can bring actual menus into the classroom. And what you can do with them is something like that. So a suggested activity might be, of course, you teach them some food vocabulary beforehand, food-related vocabulary. Then you can assign some roles. So you set a task, a realistic task, that students don't have time to make dinner, and that's why they need to order takeaway. Here they have the options, different menus, and to make it more challenging and more fun, you can assign your students with roles. Like one of students can be a vegetarian who doesn't like onions, and some of the students can be allergic to shellfish or nuts or something like that. And having this kind of roles, they need to read through the menus and find the dish they will be able to eat, because it meets this kind of requirement they have on their cards, and also that you can like give them like money limit, something like that. So that's one thing. Classified ads, or this is something we have in newspapers. So when people write them, they have to pay per line. That's why sometimes abbreviations in these ads are very funny, and sometimes they're completely like you can't say what it is, but it's fun to figure out. So suggested activity could be when you get your students familiar with some of the abbreviations, you can give them the task to actually decipher some of the abbreviations in these classified ads. Another one, company website. So when you enter any website in a company, any company, you can find out lots of information about it. So again, the task could be set the goal, like to find out how many employees are there, or what they produce, or something else. So it depends on the level of students, on the vocabulary you learn, and so on, and like the companies which you can find on the internet. Well, practically you can find out anything. Another thing is using e-commerce sites and catalogs. Well, this is websites like Amazon, eBay, like different online shops and so on, and catalogs. You can actually teach basically anything with it, any kind of vocabulary. I use this and it worked out really great with elementary students when learning furniture and like kitchen appliances, things around the house. And also it works very well with girls when we learn some kind of makeup things, so it's fun. Works very well with teenagers, by the way. Travel brochures are another opportunity to give your students to work with authentic reading material. Again, you can set a goal, like you have a week, you want to go somewhere near the forest, near the river, near the sea, somewhere hot, somewhere cold. You have this amount of money. Find a holiday of your dream within this limit. Resumes and CVs, if you work with business English students, and not only, actually, you can use them to learn like how to talk, how to tell others about yourself. Also the layout of CVs and resumes, and practice then writing them yourselves. Right, maps. It's another good idea. Thank you, Lona. You're helping me out today very well. Yeah, it's another opportunity. So actually, anything you could put hands on, it's yours. Movie, theater posters, again, to find out what the story is about, to read something. And also advertisements like to rent a place or something like that. So any magazine ads are for you to use when we talk about different authentic materials for lower levels. Remember, when we work with any kind of text, if it's too difficult for our students, it's not the text's fault, it's, well, more often it's the fault of the task. So just one rule that you learn after teaching for some time is grade the task, not the text. And then your students will pass any kind of activity, do any kind of activity with flying colors. So now let's go and see what kind of resources we can use like during our lessons if we're not satisfied with our course books, and we're normally not. Well, sometimes they are good, but sometimes the texts are like when you teach using one and the same course book for a long time, you're just, you're sick and tired of this kind of texts and you know them by heart. So, Natalia, thank you. Airplane tickets is another good thing to use with beginner learners. It's really any kind of ticket, actually, because it has lots of information. So let's see. The first one, Short Stories Co. UK. This is actually one of my favorite websites, as it contains a variety of short stories by modern British and not only British writers of different length, of different genre. I'm not sure about different levels. I guess they are authentic. Completely, but you can use them starting from intermediate level, or maybe there are some recommendations, so check it out. The stories are fun even for yourself. The next one is EnglishEbooks.net. This is a collection of graded ebooks, and here you have all kinds of levels. Yes, you will get these links when you will get the presentation. So now they are not clickable, but after you get the recording, and I guess we will get the recording and the link to presentation, all the links will be clickable, and you can go and try it out. If not, I hope that when the video will appear, when the video appears on YouTube, then I'll ask to put all these links in the description under the video, so you will get them anyway. Here you get different graded ebooks, so different levels. Some of them are with audio, so you can actually ask your students to listen and read them. And one thing that I love about this website is that it has a set of keywords, or I would call them theme words, before every story. So usually this is fiction. Fiction stories, different kind of stories. If you read a story about, I don't know, the knights in the medieval England, you will get all the key and necessary vocabulary to look at before you start reading, so it will help you and not make your reading a nightmare. Another interesting resource is 5minutemystery.com, which is not only fun stories, but also a quest. So you read a story and you help to solve the mystery, usually the murder. So what it is about, it's, by the way, this is a great way to practice scanning. Because what you need to do is read the text, and then you need to scan the text for key phrases and key words that will help you to find the murderer, or something like that. So I like this one. You can try it out. Daniel, I've just said you will get all these links in the presentation after the webinar. Don't worry, they will not go anywhere. Okay. So Rongchang is another great website for lower levels, from beginner up to intermediate. Lots of things there. Englishpage.com, a reading room. You can find different texts there, very useful, very convenient to use. ESLYes.com, again, graded stories with audios and exercises. Ready-made exercises, what can be better? And of course, onestopenglish.com, lots of ready-made lesson plans and things like that. Feel free to use authentic materials like news websites, blogs, and so on. But if you use an authentic material for your lesson, and if you want to work with it during the lesson in the classroom, make sure that your story does not contain more than 200 words for pre-intermediate level and not more than 400 words for upper intermediate or intermediate upper intermediate level. So that's important. And now, when you have lots of ideas and lots of things on your mind, I offer us to go to the question part of our webinar, and I'll be happy to answer some of our questions. So if you have any questions, you know, you can put them in our box вопросы, and I'm going there right now to answer your questions. And please do them, ask them in English. And if you have any other useful links, you can share, below. So the video to the webinar will appear in a day or two on our YouTube channel. It will also be announced in our groups in Facebook and Vkontakte. You will check them out, or if you are subscribed to skyteach.ru, if you're not, please do that right now. There you will see them again in a day or two. You will see a special box with a recording there, so it will be there. Let us go to the questions. The textbook I took the text from. Well, actually, if you see the text that we practiced with today, it's an Oxford University Press photocopyable resource, which you can find for free on Oxford University Press website, and it's taken from New English File Elementary Students Book, 3rd edition. So it's free there. It's there on the website. By the way, Oxford University Press has lots of free downloadable materials if you're registered there. So please, you can check it out. It's just something we all need to do if we're teachers. The certificate of attendance, as far as I know, nope, there won't be any certificates today, unfortunately. Now, what's the difference between discussion and a debate? Arthur, I saw that someone already answered this question, but yeah, I'll try again. Yeah, maybe I will give you an idea. So actually, discussion is more like a classroom-friendly activity, and it's not like adult-like. You can conduct discussion anywhere with anyone, and here we just discuss different pros and cons. So what it means is your students make a list of both pros and cons statements about some kind of topic. And then we just discuss in a group. Well, everyone can give some pro statements, everyone can give some con statements, and then we can come to some kind of conclusion. When you have a debate, you actually divide your group into two competitive teams. One of them is only pro and the other one is only con. And they have to prepare only the statements that will support their position. So they have there's always opposing sides there. And if in discussion it's not necessarily ended by a conclusion, when we talk about debate, usually we have to come to some kind of conclusion. So you could like, again, set it as one of goals of the lesson to come to a conclusion and to agree unanimously on some matter, and so on. So, yeah, do we have more questions? Teaching reading for beginners, Marina. Give a few pieces of advice about it. Teaching reading for beginners is when actually if the student came to you as a beginner, you're lucky because you don't need to teach them something like teach them again the necessary skills. You teach them from the very beginning, and this is really good because you can teach them all the necessary skills and all the types of reading from the beginning, and they will be it will be easier for them to get used to it. So again, for that, for teaching reading for beginners, actually for every beginner in any book you have a recording for the text, so that this will help them to associate the words written with the sounds, and thus they will just practice their reading. And one of the stages, the last stage when working with beginners, is also you can add one more stage with them, which is reading aloud. So beginners can't read, they are just learning. So then to practice saying things, to practice saying something in English, after doing all the stages described before in our webinar, you can also add one more, which is reading aloud, but again, it should not be the whole text, and it should not definitely be without preparation. So make sure you get them ready for that. Nadezhda, your question about vocabulary. Well, I mentioned only about the blocking vocabulary. If you are you asking about a question the list of words which are definitely not familiar for this or that level? Do you mean that? Where to find this kind of list? Please put a plus in the chat if you meant that. Okay, yes. So yeah, there is a thing like that. It's called English Vocabulary Profile, and this is something created by Cambridge Dictionary, and here is the link to it. Or you can just Google it. You can just write English Vocabulary Profile, and there you can find groups of words for this or that level. Or if you cannot use that, you can just open Cambridge English Dictionary online, and when you write a word there, any word, you can try now with the word procrastination if you want. So when you write any word there, it will give you the level which this word corresponds to. So the meaning of the word and the level which it corresponds to. So it can be done for any word. Like I open the word mind, and there are some meanings of this word which correspond to level B2, B1 or B2 or C2. So it depends on the meaning of the word. So this is what I usually use, but well, again, after some time you get used to it and you know what your students know or don't know. So this comes with practice. Do we have any other questions? Please, in the yeah, the chat is just jumping. I don't have time to read everything. Yes, for vocabulary English profile, you have to register there, but it's nothing like you just give your email, you register once, and then you're using it forever. So if you need it, do that. how to explain to students that it's not necessary to understand and translate the information. Okay, it's a very nice question, and this is what we all struggle with when teaching post-Soviet students. There is no such thing as translation skill in language. There's no such skill. So translation is something else, is another activity, and people learn for 5 years to do that at the university when they want to become a translator or an interpreter. For your students, if you give them manageable and like graded tasks, if you help them with the skill, and if you do everything gradually and explain why you do this or that stage, or why you complete this or that activity, they won't they won't question your authority as a specialist, as a teacher, and say that it's all wrong. But you need to give them a bearable task. If you do that, they won't need any translation. So again, it depends on the goal of your students, but actually when you teach students to read, usually people come to my lessons. I don't know your students, but my students come to my lesson, and if they need reading, if they have reading as one of their goals at the beginning of having lessons with me, what they mean by that is either read some news in English, either read some fiction stories, because in translation it's not fun, or it's not right, or it's never translated into Russian or any other language your students have as their first language, and so on. So to be able to do that, to be able to achieve that goal that they named, they need to get ready to start reading and not understand everything. And it takes time. I told you that to be successful and to be like pro at reading anything is to understand 80% of the text. I have a C2 level of English, and I still don't understand everything in the text. So when your students only start developing this skill, it's okay for them to not understand if they read, if they do the reading outside the classroom. If we talk about extensive reading, they might not understand even 50%, and it's fine. So they just need a goal, a realistic goal, and a realistic manageable task, and they will be fine, and they won't need any translation. Will there be other useful webinars like yours about other modes of teaching English? I hope so. Yeah, well, we have lots of other webinar recordings on our YouTube channel. You can check it out, Skyeng for Teachers, or you can go to our website skyteach.ru, and there's also this part which is called webinars, and there are all the recordings of all the previous webinars before. So go there and see what is coming. Yeah, you can subscribe to skyteach.ru, and you will get the notification letter if there's some kind of webinar scheduled, and you won't miss it. So you can do that. Okay, any other questions? Okay then, no questions. Great. Okay, so then thank you very much for joining me today. It was a pleasure working with you. Very active group, very helpful colleagues. Thank you so much. I hope this webinar was useful for you and you found out something fun and useful. Please try out these ideas if you haven't yet during your lessons with your students. Believe me, just try, give it some time, and you'll get nice and even great results. You can share your stories of how it went during your lessons under this recording webinar on our skyteach.ru. So here you can see our Skyeng.ru website. You can go there, check out if you're not in our team yet. You can apply for a job, and please go and check out skyteach.ru. This is something everyone should have in their subscription. Also subscribe to our groups on in Facebook and Vkontakte, and every day we post something interesting. We work for you, and we are just waiting for your opinion and your input. So thank you so much for coming. All the links will be clickable in the presentation when it will be sent for you, and the video will appear in 1 or 2 days. Thank you so much, Arthur. Yeah, you made me blush even. Okay then. So thank you so much, everyone, and have a nice evening. I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.